A special Memorial Day service at the National World War II Memorial. The National Park Service hosted this observance today to pay tribute to the more than 400,000 Americans who lost their lives during World War II. The memorial included a wreath-laying ceremony and was attended by a number of military families and leaders. As we pause to remember the sacrifice of those who gave their all for our country, WAAY 31's Marie Waxel shares the power of healing for one World War II vet whose lasting legacy lives on.
He was a man of his word. He said what he said, he did what he said.
Gene Siebert's Uncle John dedicated his life to those he loved.
Don't matter how many scars or battles they've been through, they loved life. And he loved it to the fullest. And he lived it to the fullest, too.
But for decades, he held on to a dark past. John Kuhn served in the Navy during World War II. He fought in the Battle of Tarawa. His job, to drive Marines ashore under fire. In an effort to try to connect him with other veterans, his family reached out to a local group, and volunteer Chris Patay came for a visit.
You could tell he was just like, almost had a heavy burden sitting directly on his head and his shoulders.
A burden he shared with no one. You see, John promised the young Marines as he took them to shore, he would bring them home.
They were screaming, "We're going to die, we're going to die." And he said, "You are not going to die. You're not going to die. I'm going to get you on that beach, and then I'm going to get you back, and I am going to get you home." And so in his mind, that was what he committed to do. Some of them were attacked as soon as they hit the beach, and some of them drowned. And after the battle was over, he was tasked with burying the bodies on the beach. And he saw the faces of many of those men that were in his boat. And so he just felt this burden, and he looked at me, and it was the saddest face I've ever seen. He said, "I lied to them. I did not keep my commitment to them," and he started crying.
With the support of his family and help of volunteers, John began connecting with other local veterans, even joining them on a trip to Washington, D.C. But it was a trip to Pearl Harbor in 2018 that changed everything.
We went to the Punch Bowl, and there was a man that was talking about this machine could looking down into the land and find the bodies of the soldiers. And when they was talking about it, Uncle John Evan whispered to me, he says, "I know where they're at."
And we were just all taken aback. We had chills, and everybody was really quiet.
Right after that, it's like he looked at me and he said, "They're coming home." And I said, "They're coming home?" He said, "Yes." He said, 70 years ago, those young men, I promised them I would bring them home. I'd come and get them and bring them back. And when I went, they died. They perished on that island. And I specially put them in a special place and wrapped them up in their parkas and their blankets and that. And I had them specifically in a certain place. And I said I couldn't bring them home. And so I felt like I lied. And he said, for 70 years, I couldn't get them home. And I didn't know what to do. So I went ahead and lived my life, but they couldn't live their lives.
Almost instantly, his burdens were lifted.
It changed his whole life. I mean, I've seen him let go.
He was lighter, he was happier, he started singing, he started telling jokes.
That February, John Kuhn died peacefully at the age of 95. Marie Waxel, WAAY 31 News.
It's said that a person dies twice. The first time is when they stopped breathing. The second time is when their name is no longer spoken. This Memorial Day and on, may we keep our nation's heroes alive in our hearts.